Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So I have so many videos coming out today. There is so much to talk about. If you have watched episode 5, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That ending scene just absolutely blew me away. I was not expecting that. I had expectations for what that was going to be and like how we were going to see the reveal and all of that, but it still blew me away because I was not expecting the way that variant walker just the way it looked in general and everything about it. So that was exciting, and there's also some really cool Rick Grimes stuff here, or Easter egg stuff that I do want to talk about, and I'll do separate videos on that today as well, discussing that because there's so much to talk about here. So this is gonna be my general review, discussing everything in the episode here. So definitely make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. This is a big week coming up. We have Comic-Con this week. It's New York Comic-Con. The Rick and Michonne show is gonna be getting a teaser, and Daryl's also gonna be there, or Norman Reedus. And apparently there's supposed to be some big news dropped. So I don't know if that's going to be related to Carol and her return to the Walking Dead universe. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see with that, obviously. And then, obviously we go into Fear the Walking Dead. And then there's going to be a lot of Rick and Michonne teasers sort of building up the release for that show, right? So yeah, I'm very excited right now. So like I said, definitely make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content. There's going to be so much stuff to talk about. Now, the episode begins in like the simplest way possible. And it's kind of funny looking back at it right now. Like I'm literally looking at my notes right here, and I have Nice Boat Ride because the music was just so peaceful and nice, and it was just so relaxing. And compared to the way the episode ends and just what happens at the end in general, I'm like, this is like the most insane way to start an episode compared to what happens here, right? This episode, I really feel like is probably in the top 5 episodes of I don't want to say of all time, top 10 episodes of all time of anything Walking Dead universe related. I would definitely put this up there. It just absolutely blew me away from the structure of the episode with how much happens in here. There is a lot of emotional scenes here in terms of just what the characters. Daryl, I feel like I've never seen Daryl like this. There were some really crazy scenes with Laurent that I was honestly shocked that he would even like act that way and just like be like that. I was just like kind of blown away by that. But like, again, just a really phenomenal episode. I would say for sure this is in like the top 10 episodes of all time, for sure, at least for me personally. So we did get some flashback scenes, and we just sort of learned that he randomly kind of gets involved with Madame Genet's experiments. And it's very weird because I feel like there's a lot still there to uncover, right? Like, why is Madame Genet in America looking for walkers and stuff like that? And because they have that ship, and because of everything that they had on that ship in terms of the experiments and stuff like that, it's interesting, right? Like, I think my theory was that they were sort of getting walkers or whatever for, I guess, experiments in terms of maybe they were getting delivered by the CRM kind of thing and they're trading. But that also makes no sense if you're just thinking about it realistically. Like, why would you trade for walkers when there's walkers everywhere, right? Makes no sense whatsoever. So I think my idea on that was kind of ridiculous. I feel like the connection between the Civic Republic and Madame Genet is really going to be more related to the serum that they're giving these variant walkers, and more related to the cure and stuff like that. Not necessarily delivering supplies and all that, because I don't think they necessarily need to trade in that way. I think if anything, it's more trading information on like the cure and things like that, right? So really honestly, like I liked the flashback scenes because it was kind of like a really cool story as to how Daryl got to France, and we sort of learned that, Daryl is just really, it's really cool. Like, I like the scene where he does bring back a bunch of walkers and they're all just kind of blown away. And again, that's what I mean. So much happens in this episode. This happens so early on. Like, so much happens after this. Like, they really structured this so well. Like, this was such a phenomenal episode. I love that line though, when he's like, does it look like I need help or whatever? And he's just self-recognizing that he's just amazing. Like, I love that from Daryl. He's just like, I'm so amazing. Like, do I look like I need help kind of thing? And we also got this thing that, so I've seen people talking about this yesterday in some of my tweets, and I was actually going to do a video on this yesterday as well, but I was like, I'll just wait till tomorrow, wait to see if the episode, or if it happens in the episode. And we get this scene with Carol. So Carol has officially returned. She has made her appearance on The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, and it's a voiceover thing, but obviously, she's made an appearance in season 1. We can actually say that she's been in season 1 of the Daryl Dixon show. So I think that, I was just absolutely blown away by that. To have just like, even just a voiceover, like just to hear Carol. And it's so cool because Daryl in the scene, like his eyes lit up. Like he was so happy to hear from her. I mean, it just really shows, that special connection that they both have. It's just, I think it's phenomenal. Honestly, it's going to be incredible to have Carol on this show. I'm so excited for season 2. I hope she shows up in the finale here for season 1. I really do. But yeah, season 2, I'm so excited for this. And yeah, so what happens in the scene here is Carol is discussing with Daryl just random stuff like, how are you doing? Things are going good, this and that. Carol, I will say, the entire time, and even when she said the line that everyone's talking about, she seemed very sad. Because Daryl even recognized it. Daryl was like, wait, like, are you okay? And she's just like, well, like nobody can save me or nobody can help me, Daryl, or whatever she said. And then she says something that a lot of people are interpreting as Rick came back. Because she says something, you kind of hear a little bit of what could be Rick. And then she kind of says like, came back, so I don't know if it's like Rick and Michonne came back, Rick came back. The way she says it, though, she sounds very, very heartbroken. That's the thing. It's not like she's excited to tell Daryl that, whoever came back, came back. She seems heartbroken by it. So I'm just wondering if, her telling Daryl, like, and that's the thing, too. I think that's why for season 2, I think some of this makes a lot more sense here in terms of the story. And I think season 1 of the Rick and Michonne show might end with them actually going back to Alexandria. And I think at this point, it's possible that the Rick and Michonne show is only 1 season. And I mean, I don't think it means that we're not going to get any of the reunions or anything like that. I just think that it means that the end game for Daryl Dixon is going to be Rick's appearance on this show. I mean, Rick has appeared on Fear the Walking Dead before. I could totally see that. Like, they're going to want to give us something like that. So I can see how the Daryl show becomes such a big show in terms of like the CRM and all that. There might be a change in focus and a little bit of that, which I'm totally okay with. This episode proved to me I'm totally okay with that because of the Variant Walker stuff. And I think that there's going to be, I mean, again, they still could do a season 2 of that show kind of thing, but I think the story would just have to be different, right? Because it would just have to focus on Rick and Michonne now living in the Commonwealth or at Alexandria, and then dealing with the CRM in that way kind of thing, right? Like, it would just be a different type of story than we thought, where I think before we thought all 3 seasons were just them completely just at the CRM the entire time kind of thing, right? If they were to do 3 seasons. So I think that it's not off the table yet for a season 2 for that show, but I think we understand more of what is going to happen for sure in season 1, which is Rick and Michonne, or at least the story ends with one of them for sure, it seems like, coming back to the Commonwealth, and Carol seems a little heartbroken about it, and I'm very, very curious about that, because Daryl was in America when he found that out, or when he heard that, right? And he was like, I'll be back in like a week kind of thing. And so Carol just learned of something that just happened where Rick or Michonne came back. And that's the thing, like, just the way that she said it, a lot of people think that she said Rick. So does that mean that Michonne died then? Because she just kind of says like, this person came back. Like, she seems so sad about it. So I'm just like, did someone die? Because if Rick just came back, obviously she'd be happy about that, but she's going to be so heartbroken that Michonne's gone, right? Or vice versa. If Michonne came back and then, she says, like, I found him, but he's gone kind of thing. She's going to be so heartbroken about that because she has to tell Daryl that. And so that could be why she's so sad in this scene where she's just like, yeah, this person came back. Like, she's having a hard time trying to tell him kind of thing. So I'm very curious just, as to who she meant, because I don't know if she meant Rick and Michonne. Like, did she mean like Rick and Michonne came back? Like, they're back now? Because she sounds so sad about it. So I really feel like at this point, one of them could die in the first season of The Ones Who Live, or just in that season or whatever. So it seems like that's sort of where they're going here for that show. And then afterwards with Daryl Dixon season 2, I think at that point, if Carol has seen Rick or Michonne, then we're going to be able to see Carol sort of tell Daryl in season 2, yeah, like they made it back, or this person made it back, or whoever. Because remember, by the time we watch Daryl Dixon season 2, we'll have watched The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. We'll know how that ends. We're going to know if we're getting a season 2. So there'll be a lot more of an understanding from us, just sort of in general, right? So yeah, but I'll talk about this more in a video because there's so much to break down with this scene, but it was just really cool. And a lot of people are thinking that, she meant that Rick has returned. And again, she seems so sad about it. So that's why I'm kind of thinking that it's good news, but it's not necessarily good news, because I feel like someone probably died here. But we did get this really crazy scene, and again, a really emotional scene here between Daryl and Laurent, where Laurent, I guess, cut the boat free because he doesn't want to go to the nest, because if he goes to the nest, then Daryl's going to be leaving, and he's going to be completely sad about that because he doesn't want to be left alone. And I thought that was, I think emotionally, in terms of what that character has stood for sort of throughout the entire season, I think that it's a big step for the character in sort of admitting something like that and sort of standing up to Daryl and being treated like that by Daryl, because Daryl just he completely blew up on him, and I was kind of surprised by that, because he was angry. And that's what I mean with this show is I feel like they're focusing on the stuff that we have been wanting for years, and I mean this is going back to season 4, easily. So really, really long time ago, where we wanted some of our characters to have these really emotional scenes like this, more dialogue, just more crazy scenes like this. And we're getting it with this show. To see Daryl like that, I've never seen him like that. Daryl in this show so far has been, you could argue, the best he's ever been, even including The Walking Dead. Yes, he's had some epic scenes on The Walking Dead, and there's been some iconic moments with Rick here and there. But I'm just, in terms of quality and acting and everything like that, I feel like he's so much better on this show, because you got to remember, people look back on The Walking Dead and there's this nostalgic aspect to it, right? Where people look back on it and it's amazing because of nostalgia and stuff like that. But I feel like if you really objectively put certain scenes together, you could argue that certain scenes in The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, in terms of Norman Reedus' performance and just Daryl as a character, are so much better. Isabel in this episode had a separate story entirely, and yeah, I mean, she obviously sort of went through some stuff and whatever, and I do think at this point Quinn is definitely dead. Based off of where episode 5 ended, I think that Quinn is going to die for sure in the finale here, because I thought he was going to die in episode 5. We didn't get that, and I think it's going to be a scene in episode 6 where he's a zombie and he's sort of going after Isabel, and I think that makes sense. I think that, you can end the Quinn storyline here, because it really does feel like he's more a part of Isabel's story for season 1, because in season 2 she's going to be doing something entirely different, right? And she'll be focusing on whatever. I don't know what the story's going to be for season 2. That's what I'm so excited about, because it seems like the variant walkers are going to be the main thing, trying to figure out what's going on with that, because Daryl seemed so shocked by that in the ending scene, but we'll talk about that in a second here. Daryl actually does try to get Laurent to safety when he notices that Madame Genet and her forces are nearby, and he was willing to just die in that scene there, and I really like that about that character. He doesn't care. If he was going to lose an eye in that scene, he's going to do it. He's just he's not going to beg. He's not going to beg or anything for his life. He does not care. He's standing by what he just stands for, and I remember Rick saying that a long time ago, or maybe it was Daryl, but it was something, or maybe it was even Shane, but it was something like, my word or your word or whatever, it means everything. Without that, there's really nothing. So when I say something, basically, that's what I have. That is all I have, kind of thing, right? And so I like that. Daryl has a certain loyalty, a certain belief system that he abides by, and he will not break that. And so in that scene there, he's like, I'm getting him to safety. If I die right now, so be it. I am not breaking that core and that structure that I've built within myself. And really incredible, honestly, just incredible scene there. And then Laurent shows up, and I was like, no, why? And yeah, Daryl seemed upset by that, but I think he kind of understood overall why Laurent did that. And so they're captured. Quinn is captured. Genet reunites Isabel with Laurent. Very cool scene. And they sort of got into something that I was kind of expecting, which was Genet wants Laurent, I guess, to be sort of a part of her cause, kind of thing. So I'm interested in seeing where that goes, based off of the finale anyways, or at least the trailer. I mean, obviously things are going to go wrong there, but that seems to be her overall goal right now. And we'll have to wait and see, obviously, if they do, when they do get to the nest, just what happens there, right? So the flashback scenes, I thought, were done in a really brilliant way. We do see Daryl, he's on that ship and he's a prisoner now. And the reason that he's on the boat is kind of interesting, because they're just taking prisoners randomly. And the ship was just massive. And again, there's so many questions I have about a lot of this that I think they're going to get into in season 2. I do think in terms of the variant walker stuff, it's going to be, they're teasing a lot of this stuff. They're showing what Madame Genet wants and sort of what, this place is about. But I think the reasons as to why that ship was in America, a lot of things like that, I think is stuff that is going to be revealed in season 2 and in season 3. They're setting up a lot of stuff right now. And so that's kind of, when you're looking at that scene there as to why Daryl was on that boat, as a prisoner and all of that, and just why they were there in general. Why do you need walkers from America? There's no way they were in America for walkers. They were in America for some other reason. And a ship that massive going into Maine and there's the triple P card and all that stuff. Like, there's a lot more here. There is so much more here. And who knows, they could get into it in the finale, but there's definitely a lot more here. The Varian Walker fight on the boat, I was actually very surprised by. So first of all, a few things. When Daryl does get his vest back, I thought that was so cool. Like, he just completely took them out. I thought he was like faking the entire time, and he was like actually not that hurt. But when he's staring at the walkers, there's just like this moment where he's like, whoa, like, I'm about to die. Like, he actually seems kind of shocked by just what's happening around him. And he just kind of freaks out and takes everyone out. And then he just gets the vest back. And it was so cool. Like, the action, the cinematography as like the camera sort of turning to the right, or I guess it's kind of pivoting to the left a little bit, but the camera's going to the right, just pointing left. And you see Daryl just sort of, put the vest on, and it's just like so much chaos is happening in the scene. It was just so cool. It was just honestly so epic. Like, there is no, like, I can't believe we haven't seen anything like this. I mean, this feels very cinematic. This is stuff that we've wanted for years on The Walking Dead, and they just never got into. So it's just so cool to see that. But we do see the Varian Walker. The Varian Walker takes out that one other guy, and that guy had a whole interesting story in this episode as well. And it seems like at the end, I mean, Daryl and him weren't friends, but they were kind of working together, which is kind of interesting. It really shows you in this world, they don't really care about a lot of just like, doing what's right sometimes. It's more about just trying to survive. So Daryl here just trying to survive and do whatever. And that Varian Walker takes out that guy. And I thought, again, the Varian Walkers in this episode completely blew me away, because I thought that the Varian Walkers were a little more just like normal in terms of, how they would kill and this and that. But this Walker is like scratching like this person like insane, clawing them out. And you just see all of this like blood and whatever everywhere. And this Walker is just insane. Daryl even hits this Walker in the head and it falls down. And usually with a normal Walker, that would just take the Walker out. Not this Walker. It gets back up and comes after him. And Daryl at this point is like, I can't deal with this, and so jumps off the boat. And luckily that explosion happened. It seems like he didn't really time that out properly. That really just kind of went in his favor, because that kind of messed up the Varian Walker. And if that didn't happen, then obviously when he jumps off the boat in that moment, that Varian Walker could have just jumped after him, and then he'd be dealing with that Varian Walker in the water, right? So like, it would just be kind of miserable for him in general, right? So yeah, very cool scene. But then we get the Varian Walker scene, and Madame Genet giving this speech. It felt so epic. It felt so massive in scale. Everyone listening to her, everyone cheering her on. And that's the thing. This was more of a small gathering as well, but it just felt like it was just much bigger than that. And then for Daryl to sort of be let out into like this area where everyone's watching him, and it is like this like gladiator type of battle scene kind of thing, right? Where he needs to fight for his life. He's given a weapon to take out this Variant, and the Variant at first, I thought the Variant was just the Variant. But the Variant is then shot with this like tranquilizer type thing that has like the serum, though it's not really a tranquilizer. And then all of a sudden we see this Walker just completely change. And this is where I got so excited, because the Walker changed in a way that I've always dreamed of Walkers changing on The Walking Dead. I've always wanted them to just be like really insane and like obviously become like really crazy variants where it almost feels very like science fiction like just a little different. And they went to that in this episode here, where we do see this Walker just like really freaking out and completely change. It just like became so aggressive and it was like twitching and everything. And those two guys in the back were having a hard time holding this Walker, that eventually when they let it go, the Walker just ran at Daryl. And so it's man, if you had 100 of those, you're finished. Like Madame Genet and what she's doing, that's honestly really scary. And I think that's where season 2 could honestly go. And so where I guess season 1 or episode 5, ends here is Daryl just has his axe ready and he's ready to fight this Varian Walker. So yeah, crazy cliffhanger. We're gonna have to wait until episode 6 to see how this ends. Obviously he is going to survive. I hope the fight is at least a couple of minutes. Like, I don't want it to just be the Walker goes at him and then he just like swings and takes it out and that's it. I don't want it to be that. I want this fight to last at least a minute or two where he's actually struggling with it for a bit, and just kind of see what happens after that, because it's how does Daryl get out, right? Because if he kills the Walker, there's still people there that are probably going to want to take him out. So there's a lot of other aspects to this here, but I feel like where they're going to end with this show and what the focus is going to be for season 2 is they might actually get to the nest, and they might get there and they might join this new force where they actually will have some people, to be able to fight back against Madame Genet. And I think their biggest concern at that point is going to be the Variant Walkers, because there could be something more there where I don't know if it's going to be brought up, but Daryl might be like, you know, if she's doing this and there's variant walkers here, what happens if these variant walkers become, you know, more of the dominant strain of walker and eventually end up in America? Like, this is very dangerous. Like, Madame Genet is actually a very dangerous person in this world, right? So, yeah, that might be a reason to stay for Daryl. And I mean, Carol's showing up. Obviously, he's going to need her. So I think that the way that they handled this entirely was just, this season so far is so perfect. We have one more episode left airing next week. And I'm so excited right now. So definitely post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video. You know, if I had to rate this episode anything, it would be easily a 10 out of 10. I don't have a single issue with this episode. There is really nothing I can say where I'm like, oh, this was weird or this was a little off. Like, everything in the episode I thought was so perfect, and it was extra in terms of time. Like, it was 57 minutes long, I think. So really epic to see that. I was very happy to see that we had some more time with the episode, because there was so much that they had to get into. And I talked about that last week, like, with how much was in that trailer, there is so much that they had to get into that I was like, this episode needs to be an hour long. And it was. And, you know, in terms of the episode ending like on a cliffhanger with the variant walker, the reason why I'm okay with it is because of how much they actually got into in the episode. And that's one of those things too. Like, I know over the years I have criticized the use of cliffhangers on The Walking Dead, it's like specifically more in season 7 and 8 and like season 6. It got really ridiculous back then, but it was you know, I feel like the reason why is because the whole episode was really not worthy of watching, right? Like, they would get into stuff and all of a sudden by the end, when it really felt like they were really going somewhere, then it just ended and it was a cliffhanger, and everyone just kind of felt like, or at least I personally felt like, this is just, I don't know. And then you would watch the next week's episode and they would sort of deal with it right away. And it was just, I don't know, like, the whole thing of using a cliffhanger, I feel like it needs to be something extra on top of the story that you're telling. You know, a cliffhanger just can't be the main part of the episode. And for this episode, the variant walker at the end was not the main part of the episode. This episode had so much other story and really built up everything here. And then that just happened at the end. And if you're watching this for the first time, like, honestly, I'm really excited to see people's reactions, like the people who don't watch stuff online, who just sort of watch like this show on cable or wherever. I want to see how they respond to this variant walker, because they're probably not expecting it. They're probably just going to watch the episode as like, oh, this is cool, really cool Daryl story or whatever. And then we see that scene there, which was just absolutely like mind blowing, right? So yeah, very, very phenomenal episode. I definitely would rate this a 10 out of 10. I'm so excited for the finale here, but definitely post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.